Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have a licensed Gestalt psychotherapist, executive coach, and organizational consultant who has helped thousands of employees, managers, and leaders in Fortune 1000 companies and non-profit organizations on topics related to authentic leadership, emotional intelligence, and conscious collaboration. She is co-author of Growing Up at Work: How to Transform Personally, Evolve Professionally, and Lead Authentically. I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Yael Sivi, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you. You got that right.
I did. Okay. Actually, your agents or publicists kind of trying to spell out the pronunciation.
I saw that. That was good.
Yeah. So that was good. So at least I did pronounce it right. Because with my dyslexia, I still probably get it wrong, even looking at it in writing. So never mind. Okay. Well, great. Well, look, listen, we're going to talk about your book. It sounds like a real interesting topic and title that you chose for your book. But before we do this, my own experiential experience mostly in my main career as a professional firefighter in London, and recent times, even myself, I felt some kind of psychological side of it. And it is a job that really heavily relies on teamwork. You know, it's for life threatening, so you have to anyway. But obviously, it's a very big job description for us. The burning question for me, pardon the pun, is why is promoting psychological safety on teams? Why is it harder than you think, and what can you do about it?
Very good question, Dave. Very big question.
So and we can have a discussion and apply it to what I know and the work you've done with other people as well.
Sure. Well, let's take one step back maybe and just make sure we're sort of defining our terms, right? Mm-hmm. So psychological safety is really the presence or the perception of a presence that I, as an employee, can be myself, make mistakes, ask questions, experiment on a team without being shamed, without being punished, without being ridiculed, criticized. Yeah. Right? Very
difficult in a fire service to have that done. Well, a lot of jobs really, isn't it?
I think a lot of jobs. In fact, a lot of the research has has come from medical fields where they've looked at nurses who are afraid to question a doctor in a very important moment. Doctor, did you say this much oxygen or that much? And these can be life-threatening moments, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And there is this kind of superiority with the doctor. Obviously, the doctor has the final say because the nurses are trained up to a certain level. But it can work out the other way around if you've got a bad doctor. Yeah. Actually, here's a comical thing. I think this has happened I think it's London it happened, but we have like a National Health Service. So it's kind of like all... it's kind of like all more attached to the government because it's, paid by the taxpayers rather than private health insurance. And then there was a doctor that was found sleeping. I think she lost her license in the end. She's making an appeal because obviously it's all regulated doctors. I think it's the same in the US. And she was found sleeping in a cupboard she went for a break maybe or something like that. And they were looking for her. Where's this doctor gone? And they found her. Apparently she fell asleep before in another hospital. Anyway, she got struck off for it, and she's trying to make an appeal, and her lawyer's saying something like, I don't know what, she's given some kind of... But it's just a kind of arrogance around it, isn't it, really, And the
arrogance around it, and let's say maybe there's a nurse who's seen her sleeping in the closet a few times and wonders, can I say something?
It was a nurse that found her. They were the ones saying. So there is, what I'm trying to get at is that there is this kind of superiority of the doctor and the nurse being scared of saying something, which is what you're saying, in case they make a mistake. But really, you can get a bad doctor that's doing something and it's like, oh, hang on a minute,
That's right. So
you're not above the law.
In industries like yours or the medical field, these can be life-threatening moments of not saying something. And in, I think sort of our knowledge worker realities. Maybe they're not life-threatening moments, but they're moments where people make sort of a determination. Should I say the thing and take the risk of potentially being, ridiculed or criticized or not? So, the big invitation is for managers and leaders to think about how they're setting the tone around psychological safety, because you've probably heard the saying before, people don't leave organizations, they leave managers.
Yes,
right?
That's
managers
right.
have an outsized impact on how we experience a team.
Yes.
So one of my real areas of focus is helping managers and leaders mature emotionally. And so I would sort of take the question from that angle, which is to say, I think it's hard to create psychological safety if you're not emotionally mature. And that's the doorway in, I think.
So what is emotionally mature? Because, there's a lot of words bandied around emotions, and a lot of people don't even understand it until you look into it, and it's not their job. A firefighter's job not to be a psychologist. Well, you can be a psychologist as in like for management and coaching your team, but, emotionally mature, there's lots of words like emotional intelligence or other
What do we
areas.
mean?
Yeah, what do we mean by that?
So I think we mean so many things that you and I could be here for weeks unpacking it. And as a psychotherapist,
no, I'm joking. No.
As a psychotherapist, this is the very work, I think, of what I'm often doing with either individuals or leaders, is helping them become more emotionally mature. What does that mean? One of the things it means, number one, is starting by looking in the mirror and in any situation, saying, what is my part of this situation? How am I contributing to this problem, this relationship, this dynamic? Number one, realize that you're part of the problem. Because I think, children can't see that, maybe for good reason developmentally. They're sort of narcissistic by definition. They're full of themselves. And yet, one of the very important stages of sort of becoming more emotionally mature from childhood to adolescence is something what in adult development theory is called socialized mind. When we start thinking about our impact on others, not just it's all about me, it's about us.
Yeah.
Right?
And the teacher's job is to kind of make them realize that, because it's not only teaching them the actual academic side, but also with their behavior in class and what they've done to someone else and how that can impact.
That's
and
right.
the parents as well,
That's right. And some people never grow out or never really grow into a full understanding of how they're impacting others, right? Some adults.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? So that's already
like
number one.
Like bullying, for example.
That's right.
And that's socialized usually from as a kid, something's happened, or they may have been bullied or something like that,
Well, so thank you for bringing that up. So number one is start with you. You're part of the problem. And number two is look into the past. So there's sort of this idea that oftentimes the past is more present than we think, right? So maybe we have some habit of bullying that we're not really conscious of or aware of, and we need to look at the past. Maybe we have some story that we're not good enough. And so we're always unconsciously competing against everybody else around us. Haven't you ever sensed there's some people that always feel like they're competing against you?
Yeah, right? Quite a lot. Especially if they're a little bit jealous of something that's happened or something you're doing well at, or maybe you're not and you want to get somewhere and then someone wants to, I don't know, maybe they've got this mindset of holding you back for some reason. It could be a manager, it could be another teammate or something like that.
So you want to look in the mirror and say, am I unconsciously competing with everyone around me? Or as a manager, am I threatened by the success of others? There are some leaders who are threatened by the success of their teams.
Yeah.
Right? That's not emotional maturity. That's something that requires looking in the mirror, looking at yourself with, honesty and introspection to say, I have some work to do here. Because otherwise, what we don't realize, a mentor once told me, and I think this is sort of amazing, we pick up the unconscious, unresolved material in others in about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you have an unresolved thing about you don't think you're good enough, and so you're always sort of unconsciously competing against me all the time in team meetings and sort of putting down what I'm saying or joking in that sort of sarcastic but kind of thorny way, you have some work to do. You have some work to do emotionally to look at the fact that there's still something unresolved inside of you, probably from childhood, where you don't think you're good enough. Maybe you have an inner critic inside that gives you a hard time all the time. But what you don't realize is that, back to psychological safety, by not resolving your own inner material, you are recklessly transmitting all of your unresolved competitive energy out there in the world, and you're making me, as your colleague, feel like I can't say what I want to say because Dave might make fun of me at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I probably weren't in that position. I'm probably in the reverse, but
no. I hope you don't feel like I'm picking on you.
I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this because obviously that environment, doesn't help certain firefighters, but sometimes they've got a problem at home, and then they go to work, and then the manager needs to look after their well-being, because obviously it's a stressful job. You see things in that kind of profession that actually adds to the stress in your brain, obviously post-traumatic stress and things like that. So that is a psychological safety. I mean, there's these things now called like mental health first aid now that they're all slowly introducing into workplaces, adding it into training.
It makes a lot of sense to me. I also think there's more trauma that's unresolved in the workplace than we realize, whether it's trauma from the job itself. In your industry, that would be trauma potentially just for going to work yesterday.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Or trauma in somebody's past that's unresolved. Yeah. So maybe there's something, for instance, with me around authority figures. Authority figures maybe scare me because there was something in my own childhood where authority figures weren't safe.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I'm walking around as in an adult body, but with sort of the consciousness of a child. And that, again, is, one more piece of the puzzle of what does it mean to be emotionally mature, you asked. Another piece is that I realize if I'm coming from the consciousness of being a child, I have to look at that and do some work, probably with a therapist or a coach, to support myself to not be a child in the presence of my boss, because otherwise I'm scared of them all the time.
Right, yeah.
Right? But I don't even know it until I bring that into my awareness.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of work to be done. I mean, I've heard of things like the inner child and childhood trauma that you still always carry nearly everyone's got that in one way or the other, whether it's something they've seen on TV or something more drastic, like, I don't know, being abused by their parents or relative or something like that, So that's two things that I know about, is that childhood trauma is in certain people, and there is an inner child. So even as an adult, you probably might move into that phase, And
that's okay, by the way, too. There's a model that I like called transactional analysis, and it basically suggests in any given moment, we are coming from one of three forms of ego state or ego consciousness. Yep. It's called PAC, parent, adult, or child. And when we're coming from parent, we tend to sort of mimic the authority figures that have been around us. So maybe you had a loving parent and there's something more nurturing about you as a manager. Maybe you had a very authoritarian, even abusive parent. So when you take on power positions, it's not something that's done with a lot of sharing, but it's sort of like I'm on top, you're on the bottom sort of thing. Adult state of consciousness suggests that we're not coming from a place of sort of higher than or less than, but I'm meeting you adult to adult. Okay, that's us as peers. And even if you have more power than I do in the organization, we are still both adults and we can respect each other, listen to each other, cooperate. And then there's the child state, which I mentioned. And the child state doesn't have to be bad. None of these states have to be bad, but we have to bring awareness to when we're in it. So maybe we're having a brainstorming session and we're just being playful about ideas. Our inner child can be very useful when we're trying to be playful and imaginative, because that's part of us, right? If you've ever played as an adult, it can be delightful.
No, it is. I mean, it's like, obviously I did sports, which I started as a teenager or even as a 10-year-old. Well, I did track and field, but I was quite good at it, and I liked it from that young age. So I carried on to my adult life, but that's kind of playing, I suppose, doing sports. But even playing soccer or something like that, it's come from a young 5,
it's playful.
Tennis, but I'm talking about sports, but other things as well. It could be other hobbies that's not related to sports, but it's playing around, isn't it? Really, and
sure.
Carry it through.
But let's think about your 8-year-old who liked to play sports. Wonderful when you're playing on a team and or you're sort of collaborating in fun ways. But if that 8-year-old has power and he's afraid of it or he's intimidated by others, it's not the emotionally mature place from which to lead an organization.
Right.
As an 8-year-old.
Right. I see. Yeah. So, I mean, going back to the question, because obviously, as I say, psychological safety is a big topic in the first responders world, and or most kind of jobs like that. And I'm sure, some. I'll reiterate this to the whole society. I mean, I'm just giving you my example because it's what I know. So, in answer to the question, what can we do about it in terms of promoting?
What can we do? So first, safety? Look in the mirror and notice what is your piece of the puzzle. Where are you maybe still potentially not as balanced, not as conscious, not as mature as you'd like to be. So start with you, number one. Number two, I would say, notice that you're probably more of a perfectionist than you may realize. A lot of us think that we're not, but one of the things that can really hinder psychological safety is this idea that if you don't get it right and you don't get it exactly right, I'm going to be upset or I'm going to punish you. So we have to realize by looking in the mirror that one of the things we can do as leaders to undermine psychological safety is to be a perfectionist. Number three, I would say, is to realize that maybe you are threatened by the success of others, or maybe there is an inner critic inside of you that thinks you're never good enough. If those things are present inside of you, they will transmit to others. So if I don't think I'm good enough, it's not just that I don't think I'm good enough, it's that everybody else around me is picking up on the idea that, like, we are not good enough. I am transmitting that. Or if I'm always competing, but I have a blind spot and I don't think I'm competing. I know someone like this. They never think they're competing, but they're always sort of competing to be top dog in any situation. You have to realize you're transmitting that energy to others and they're picking up on it. And so you want to sort of, own it, acknowledge it, shift it. I would say two more things. Fourth thing is you believe you must do everything by yourself. Some people believe that no one else is going to do the thing as well as they do, so they just keep doing the thing over and over again. Not only do we deprive people of learning because we don't give them the chance to learn or make mistakes or succeed, but we keep reinforcing that we're the only one who really knows best, and that does not create psychological safety. And finally, I would say we gossip more than we realize, and gossip is toxic. So if you've ever been in the presence of a colleague or a manager who's talking to you about someone else at work, the first thought in most human beings' heads is, did they talk about me like this when I'm not around?
Yeah, that's right.
And even though it's very human to gossip, I want to say evolutionarily, they say biologists believe we've been gossiping for a long time. It helps keep us safe to know what's going on in our village. It's not healthy and it's not mature.
Yeah, evolutionary from the saber-toothed tiger days.
Yeah. Hey, did you hear there was a tiger?
Exactly. Because it's a safety thing, wasn't it?
That's
really,
right.
you had to spread the message. I mean, sometimes it's good. I mean, it's not called gossiping, but sometimes it's good to kind of get messages across like that,
I would argue if a saber-toothed tiger's in the office, you can gossip about that.
They've got the modern version of it,
That's
whether it is that boss they fear because they've got that emotional maturity issue going on or whatever, so certainly that is something that certainly makes sense. So let's move on to your book now. So we're talking about emotional maturity, so it makes sense with what your book is called. Can you tell me more about your title? What does growing up at work mean?
Sure. So I've been coaching people for a long time, a lot of leaders, and I think at some point I sort of took a step back and I reflected on all these people I had been coaching, and I realized that they were coming to me for sort of professional challenges. Things like, all of a sudden I now have power over my friends. I've been promoted, but I want to still be their friends. How can I be their manager, but I want to be their friend? Or I have this conflict at work, but I don't want to deal with it. Things that kept coming on the surface, like professional challenges, I realized as I took a step back, and with my co-author, Yash Bayer, we took a step back and said, what is going on here? And what we realized was going on here has a professional veneer. So it seems like these things that I just have to sort of figure out how to do at work, but they always have an inner core of emotional material. And so what we realized is And meanwhile, we were exposed to a theory that was really interesting to us. It's called adult development theory. I mentioned it just a little while ago. And adult development theory basically suggests we are not done maturing just because we've hit adulthood.
Yeah.
A lot of us somehow think from Psychology 101, you hit adulthood and you like plateau with your kind of evolution or your development psychologically. That is not true. And a Harvard psychologist named Robert Kegan talks about these stages of adult development. And if you are conscious and intentional, you can help yourself evolve as an adult. And it doesn't mean people are bad if they don't, but it means that we have kind of a roadmap. And the roadmap starts with sort of that socialized mind that I talked about, that we become more mature as adolescents and young adults when we realize the world isn't just about us. I'm not the center of the universe. I have to figure out how to be in this universe, in this world, and cooperate. But it doesn't stop there. There are 2 more stages of adult development. The next one is called self-authoring mind. And self-authoring mind says, I'm not just going to live in order to please others and in order to fulfill the social expectations and conditioning that I was given. I want to figure out who am I and what's actually important to me and what's true for me. And we realized that by helping people evolve professionally through coaching, we were actually not just helping them be better leaders, we were helping them grow up at work. And I'm using sort of air quotes when I say that, grow up at work, because they're not just becoming better managers, they're actually becoming more emotionally mature to realize I don't have to compete in order to be loved, or I don't have to stand out in order to be valued. And these are old social conditioned beliefs that we have to sort of work through in order to grow up.
So it's kind of like saying, looking for validation. Why do you need to look for validation? That kind of thing, yeah?
That is one of the examples. Yeah, most of us do it. That's right.
Yeah.
Very, very common.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So why did you write this book anyway?
Well, I think, I sort of feel like sometimes the work of coaching or psychotherapy is great for the people who are in the room. It's like me and another person, but I can only touch the lives of, let's say a few dozen people a year, maybe hundreds in the past 10 years. But I started to feel like there are some tools I want to share more broadly. So I wanted to talk about adult development theory and what it meant for leadership, because I am 100% convinced that more emotionally mature people are better leaders. There is no question in my mind. And less emotionally mature people make less good leaders. And I also wanted to expose people, you talked about Gestalt in my introduction, so that's something we haven't talked about very much yet today, but I'm a Gestalt psychotherapist, and there's a particular kind of theory around what Gestalt means, but I wanted to share the tools from Gestalt also with readers.
Yeah, because I did mention it at the beginning. I wondered what it was. So please do.
Okay, so there's so much to say. I'll try to just sum it up. Gestalt.
Yeah, give us a summary. Yeah,
little summary.
And then, we can have another episode another time if we can.
Sure. Or people can pick up the book.
All right. I'll pick up the book. Yeah.
So Gestalt in German means a few different things. It means shape. It means wholeness. It means form. And so one of the things as Gestalt therapists we're trying to look at whenever we're with a client is what's the shape through which they are experiencing the world and sort of understanding the world? Because life isn't just unilaterally sort of happening for all of us in the same way. Life is how I perceive it, and life is how you perceive it. There's a shape that it takes, and life takes a shape based on our early experiences and based on early beliefs we have about the world. Do I feel safe in the world? Do I trust the world? Do I feel like I have to compete? Do I have to stand out to be loved? All these things are what are called introjects, early beliefs that until we question these beliefs, they drive us.
Right, okay.
They drive us.
So how do you become aware of the fact it's driving you? By questioning the beliefs?
That's right.
And then you've got to be aware of the beliefs to to know that it's driving you.
Yeah. And it can be as simple. A transformational moment, can just be like, let's say we're in a meeting and I want to say something and I'm like sitting on my hands and I'm like really excited. And one of the questions we play with in a moment like that is wait, WAIT. Wait can stand for wait, just hold on. But wait can also stand for why am I talking?
All right. So it's like wait, but without the G.
Yeah. Sorry. Wait. Yeah. WAI.
Yeah. But anyway.
So why am I talking? Why do I feel like I need to be heard right now? So the whys are really important. Sometimes, you follow a question 5 times with the word why. Why do you need to talk? Well, because I have an important idea. Well, why do you think your important idea needs to be expressed right now? Well, if it's not expressed, then, no one else will express it. Well, what happens if you don't express it? Well, then no one will think that I have anything valuable to say. What happens then? And you start sort of unpacking the beliefs, and you start, without actually that much work, realizing what is driving you. What is driving you is something that requires attention and love and interrogation. And then we start having choices. And then the choices start getting interesting.
So I don't want to be confused myself or anything like that, but sometimes when someone has drive and passion, or I know in my own life, it actually brings me to success. So when you're saying what's driving you, you're already referring to the fact of why do I need to compete? Why am I competing? I mean, because there are certain things that drive people, and it's actually a good thing, isn't it? Because it gets them success, like whatever, business, sports, or in your profession,
Yeah, drive can be very important. In fact, there's a model that really sort of reduces what makes a good leader into 3 qualities: judgment, drive, and influence. So I think you're totally right. If you don't have drive, there's a lot that can't probably be accomplished in life. It's just the question, and this sort of is maybe a little bit meta, but is the drive driving you, or are you driving the drive? Like, do you have a relationship with it?
Right, I see. Yeah.
Is it pushing you on autopilot, and you get up in the morning and you got to be productive no matter what? Maybe you're tired, and maybe it's a day you just need to rest. The question is, do you have a relationship to it? Are you able to, it's called, make it an object, or are you subject to it? And when you're subject to it, that's what's called socialized mind, because it's driving you. And we want to reverse that, ideally in the support of that self-authoring mind.
Right. So you mean like you need to have more, you need to know what this drive is so that you can control it, and
so you can manage it.
You manage it, yeah.
That's right.
So rather than not knowing about this drive, then you're not going to be aware of what to do with it, because you don't know where it's coming from, and so it's going to control you.
Exactly. We have a chapter.
Yeah, go on.
We have a chapter in the book called "I'm Successful, but I Have No Life." So all of the chapters are named after the dilemmas that these leaders had and were coached around. And this is a person, and it's very, very typical. Very successful people often are driven by this idea, like if they stop, they will do, like they'll fail.
Yeah.
Right? And, or if they don't work 10 times as hard as everybody else, then they're not valuable. And in this person's story, for instance, they had to come to realize that was not a healthy way to live their life. This was a woman. She wanted to have a family, have a child, that she was running herself ragged. She'd wake up in hotel rooms, not know where she was. And she had to really question what was driving her. And I think it was a lot of fear, a fear of sort of not having enough, a fear of who would she be if she didn't take on that next promotion. And she had to really come to terms with, like, what did she actually want as the 30-year-old person she was, and not just the child of her parents who were fearful that she wouldn't be successful.
Yeah, wow. Well, it sounds like a real, a lot going on. I mean, how many is this book? Quite a lot of chapters in there, or is it? Because I didn't take a look. It is, yeah. So
it's 11 chapters. So it's
11 chapters.
Yeah, it's built in this way. So we introduced the topic of growing up at work because we really do think the workplace is a laboratory for us to grow up psychologically and emotionally. Yes. We're excited about that. Yeah. Then we give you 13 practices, what we call the lifelong practices for growing up professionally and personally. Then I give you a vocabulary because there's a lot of Gestalt terminology, and I kind of do want to be a translator because a lot of times we live in these separate worlds. You probably have lots of terminology from the world of firefighting that I've never learned, but I'd like to learn some of those words one day.
Right. Yeah, well, we do get told before I retired, but while I was in the job, when you're explaining things to the public, say like it's a fire safety thing, or just explain about your job, to try and leave out the terminologies, because they'll be, what the hell? It's like another language, isn't it? Really?
It is another language. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. So in our book, we try to translate that language up front with a glossary to say, here's what we're going to talk about. And then the 11 chapters that I referred to are named after the dilemmas that people came to us with. So chapter number 1 is called I Feel Like an Imposter. Chapter number 2 is I'm their manager, but I want to be their friend. Chapter 3 is I take care of everyone except myself at work. So we've tried to name the dilemmas, and the hope is people will see themselves. My hope has always been someone picks up this book, you don't have to read it in order, and they might say, I think chapter 5 is about me, but my friend could really relate to chapter 10.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned a few of those chapters. I was thinking, you could give this to my workplace and they'll be interested. Some of the managers especially, because they'll be more into reading. But that's quite amazing. I'm going to take a deeper look into the book myself. Yeah. So as far as my audience and listeners are concerned, how could they best use this book?
I mean, like I said, so I think you can read this book in order if you just really want a sense of the holistic picture of the kinds of clients we've worked with and the really inside sort of behind the scenes look of what coaching looks like when I'm working one-on-one with a leader around these different topics or individuals. Right. So there's sort of an overview that just, I think, gives you a nice picture of kind of what professional and personal evolution can look like. But if you want to make it personal, and that's certainly a hope of ours, that you can read it in whatever order you want. And if a chapter really resonates with you, go for that one first. It's sort of like, when you listen to an album and there's like one song you really like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Go for that song. Go for that chapter that makes you curious, and then pop it around and maybe give it to a friend. My hope, my secret hope has always been that this book, it sells. That would be lovely. But more than that, that people pass it around. People.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and it helps.
No, it certainly was. Like I said, my immediate thought when you started reading some of the chapters out, and obviously talking about you and this topic during this episode, is that some people at my workplace, my previous workplace, could have done with this.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't mind sort of mentioning that. Well, and myself as well, not them as well, but you're saying that, especially going back to
all of us. I see myself in every chapter. Yeah. That's right.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been really great. I mean, it's a fascinating topic, and as I said, I want to take a delve more deeper in it, and also my audience as well. So, how can my audience find out more about you and more about where to get the book and everything?
Sure. So you can get the book wherever books are sold. So that, of course, that includes like Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but you can also just order it from your bookstore called Growing Up at Work. We have a website dedicated to the book called growingupatwork.com, so feel free to check that out. We have some explainer videos and an author interview with my co-author and I. And then our firm is called Collaborative Coaching, which is collaborative-coaching.com. So if you're interested as a leader in growing up at work and becoming more emotionally mature and professionally intelligent in how you're showing up, give us a ring.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'll put the links in the show notes as well, so that they'll probably get directly to you after listening to this. They can always refer back to the show notes. Excellent. So that's great stuff, Yael. Yael, where is that name from?
And you're pronouncing it very beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to your publicist. Giving me some help there.
So the name appears in the book of Judges in the Old Testament. It actually appears as Jael. So it's a Hebrew name.
Okay. Right. I'm with you now.
And she was kind of a warrior character in that.
All right.
Story.
Okay. That's quite a unique name to have anyway. It's better than Dave. Dave is very common. So, but that's actually what David's in the Bible as well. So
that's true. He was pretty popular in the Bible.
It was, All right. Well, let's not change the subject, but we want to be more focused on your book at the moment. So thanks a lot for coming on the show to talk about the topics around your book, and I'm sure I'll have you back for more. We've almost branched into other topics we could talk about, which would take a long time, which we didn't have enough time for. So that'll be great, as well. But in the meantime, thanks a lot for coming on the show and sharing this today.
Very good. Thank you.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.